Hi, I'm Richard Friedman, and welcome to my video cartoon for May 12th, 2025. Here we have my latest cartoon. Here is President Donald Trump in the Oval Office in a private telephone conversation on his cell phone with Mike Johnson, who's standing in front of the Capitol. And this is basically titled Richard's Trump, May 7th, 2025, private telephone conversation with Republican House Majority Leader Mike Johnson amid the president urging Johnson to support raising taxes on the rich and the corporate wealthy, proposing their tax rate going from now 37% to the pre-17 rate of 39.6%. For married couples making more than $5 million per year and unmarried taxpayers making more than $2.5 million per year. So this is a tax cut that President Trump was urging on that telephone conversation Mike Johnson to support. He wanted his support for this tax increase on the rich. And what happened here's how the conversation went. Basically, from what I read, I kind of put it, I obviously couldn't have heard the conversation. Nobody heard it was a private conversation. But from what I heard, I kind of put it all together and created this dialogue between them. Okay, there it goes. That's how. Okay. Mike, how about a tiny tax increase on the rich to make up for no major tax cuts to Medicaid? You see, they're going to slash Medicaid, but the pressure there that built up, they decided just to take a chisel at it. So it's not going, the cuts are going to be there, but they're not going to be as like a sledgehammer like it was going to be. So basically, they need to get funds from somewhere else. So President Trump here was saying, well, we could increase the taxes on the wealthy. Okay? A tiny tax increase on the wealthy. And avoid problems from the Democrat liberal lunatics. The Democrat liberal lunatics. Okay? And here's Mike Johnson here. And he's responding in front of the Capitol. There he is, standing in front of the Capitol there. Okay? And he's saying, Mr. President, if you want to pass your one big beautiful bill, that's what President Trump calls his one big beautiful bill. That's the title of it. This won't do it. Our Republican majority will not go for it. The Republican brand is for no raising tax, not to raise taxes, but to lower taxes, but never to raise taxes. So that's against the brand of Republicans. And here's Mike Johnson adding on to that. He's saying this. And if I support it, I will lose this speaker gavel. So he's saying here goes my speaker gavel. He's going to go towards the path of McCarthy, Kevin McCarthy, who they voted out, and he was gone. And he don't want to go down that Kevin McCarthy path. And he's thinking that, and he's putting up a strong argument to President Trump not to raise taxes because the votes are not there to raise taxes in the Republican majority. The votes are not there to raise taxes on the wealthy. Okay? And aside from that, it would jeopardize his job. Okay? Losing his gavel there. His gavel. See? Okay. Now, in response to that argument, President Trump really realized that this wasn't going to happen. So he put up this tweet here. This is another post on his Truth Social platform, on Truth Social. He posted this word for word. Okay, there it is. There he is. That's the trademark there. There it is. Okay. And this is what he said. Basically, he wrote this word for word. The problem with even a tiny tax increase for the rich, which I and all others would graciously accept in order to help the lower and middle income workers is that radical left Democrat lunatics would go around screaming, "Read my lips." The fabled quote by George W. Bush, the elder. George W. Bush was the father of George W. Bush, who came later on into the presidency years later. So this is the elder Bush, the father, not the son, who was George W. Bush. This was George H.W. Bush. By George H.W. Bush, I'm going to inject that. The elder that is said to have cost him the election. Okay, that was said. It was said that it cost him the election. No. Ross Perot cost him the election. So I don't know what point he was making there to say, well, it didn't cost him the election. So I don't know, but that's President Trump's language, and that's what I'm reading out to you. You decide how you understand that. In any event, Republicans should probably not do it, but I'm okay if they do. So he's saying this way, basically, if they want to go ahead and do this, I'll sign it, but I'm not going to. And here's the idea: is this is the bottom line that I wrote to that here. Here it is. The bottom line. This is Trump's bottom line that I wrote. Trump's bottom, because he always, when he wants to get something really done, he does an executive order, and he declares an emergency and then does an executive order. So if he wanted to really get it done, I mean, this is his bottom line. Appears to be, but in this case, he really doesn't. He's going to leave it up to the Republicans to decide, but he'll go along with it. There's a big difference there. Trump's bottom line appears to be he will not declare a low tax rate emergency on the rich. A low tax rate emergency because we don't have enough money to fund my big, beautiful bill. You know, that's a low tax emergency, but he ain't going to do that. Low tax rate emergency on the rich and write an executive order to have their tax rates raised. He will leave it up to Republicans to decide and advising them they probably should not do it. After all, it was just a suggestion. You do what you want, but if you want to sign it, if you want to vote for it, I'll sign it. But it's going to be your baby. Okay, so that was it. Now, with that in mind, I want to kind of go back into the past, flashback, and show you George H.W. Bush in a flashback here. And what happened was, in George W. Bush was running, he had been Ronald Reagan's vice president, and in 1988 he ran for the presidency. Okay, and in campaigning, he went around. His big theme was "Read my lips." Now I'm going to read my lips. No more taxes. No tax hikes. Read my lips. No new taxes. Read my lips. No new taxes. That was his trademark. Like President Trump says, let's make America great again. His George W. Bush back in 1988 was "Read my lips. No new taxes." But what happened was, by the time we got to 1990, there was a deficit that he had to confront. And so to confront that deficit, he came to the conclusion he had to raise taxes. So he went ahead and raised taxes. And that was what President Trump was referring to there in that social post. Okay, so here we have the flashback, and let's go at it.
And I'm the one who will not raise taxes. My opponent now says he'll raise them as a last resort or a third resort. But when a politician talks like that, that's one resort he'll be checking into. And my opponent won't rule out raising taxes, but I will, and the Congress will push me to raise taxes, and I'll say no. And they'll push, and I'll say no. And they'll push again, and I'll say to them, read my lips. No new taxes.
Okay, that was Bush. No new taxes. Okay, so there you had it, folks. God bless you. God bless America. And may God watch over all our troops stationed over the world, many in harm's way. And I'll say it again. God bless you. And take care. And I'll see you next time. Bye.